on Hello Web Monorepo. This is the open source repo we're working on currently. Going to be a short stream today, looking at about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And this is going to be focused on a design doc. So here we're going to create an issue. One issue will be fix README. Let's see. I had someone set up this repository and the README instructions didn't work for them. I'm trying to remember exactly what went wrong. Collapse these, just looking at the README right here. Yeah, they had a problem installing poetry, I think. And then the other issue, Control Z. The other issue is right here on my git diff. Just because tutorial said so. So that's not correct. So this can all go under fixed poetry. Fixed poetry instructions. So this part is not correct. Why poetry over virtual env? Two things here. One is why poetry over virtual env? List item text not correct. Two is installing poetry fails for some users. Specifically received an SSL issue or SSL error when curling. So document that fix. Okay, so this is the first thing. The second issue is auth microservice design. So as a developer, I want a design doc. I want to separate it out. You could put this in the README, but we're going to separate it out. So I'd like a docs folder docs folder created that includes design docs for features in the current application. Then I'd like a design doc specifically constructed for the auth service, for the auth microservice. Django already has auth, but we want to use a microservice to provide third-party role information, which Django maps to its own roles, similar to an SSO scenario. Finally, I'd like the README updated to call out that docs exists with let's see, do I want to have an item inside of the docs folder, or do I want to have the list of design docs in the README? Yeah, so let's do one more thing. Then I'd like a docs index.md, which lists out all of the current designs in the repo. Then finally, I'd like the README to update it to call out that docs/index.md. That makes sense to me. Use Node for the microservice. We're doing Python today. Not always. HP is the magic. Oh yeah, this laptop. It's good for the money. Why don't you just put it in an array? Not sure what you're talking about. So many jobless Python programmers. I also don't know what you're talking about. I'm definitely employed. How many years of experience do you have? About 10. All right, thanks for being here. Okay, so I think I addressed all the comments for now. So what are we doing next? So we got this Microsoft design issue, and now that we have an issue, we can do a pull request. So right now I'm showing you how to feature branch. So this is like a commercial developer practice. So you can see I can get branch, but I'm on main, and I don't want to just push commits directly to main. I want to have a proper peer review process, which means that I create a feature branch. That feature branch has only the code that will resolve a particular feature request or bug or issue. It addresses that specifically. I do a pull request on that, and my peers can review that pull request. And that's the goal of today's stream, is to get a partial or full PR up to facilitate a peer review. So I take on various students and teach them how to code, and one such student, a next task we have is to go through peer review practices. So I don't actually want to implement a microservice. I just want to make the design doc, and I'll pull request that, and that's actually the goal of the current stream. Cool. Let's see. Might be good to have like a template design doc too. As a developer, let's see. You know what? We can do this under the same issue. So in theory, these could be two different issues, but I'm going to implement a design doc, and then I can just kind of like take the sections. So it's really not a substantial enough task. Like it's a small enough task that you can just do it together. Kind of the rule of thumb that I use for these things is basically the business day. Like if it's going to take you even one more business day, split that task out. You could potentially argue if it's even going to take you half a business day of a difference. But if it's going to take you less than half of a business day of a difference, it's virtually immeasurable. And you can kind of roll it in there, or you can bundle them together and up the points anyway. Now we're getting into like user story estimation stuff, which I'm not really trying to deal with today. So we're just going to throw it in here. In addition, please create a template, a docs/template MD that serves as an outline or template design doc. Mention this in the README as well. And this is great because let's say I don't do that. Let's say I just do the first part and I pull request it. Now I should expect the reviewer to catch that. None of this stuff is really perfect. Ideally we could automate these checks. So if a manual review doesn't catch everything, that's fine. But like if they are successful, they will catch that such a user story requirement was missed. Okay, so let's create the branch. So how do we do this? You say get branch, the number of the issue, so that would be 2, and then a short descriptive name. And in this case, I can just do auth microservice design. I can keep the whole thing. I could maybe change it to auth ms design, auth service design. Any of these make sense. Let's check it out. Hit log -1. So we can see that I still have this working change, so I'm going to stage this. Let's see. I can do some other things too. I can go ahead and do contributing. We could do an outline. Let's make these 3. They're not all they're not all top level titles. So here we'll say contents, 1, architecture notes. One is architecture notes, 2 is contributing guidelines, lowercase this, contributing guidelines. This is a very common element in a README is to have the contributing guidelines or a separate document, but it's mentioned here, that's fine too. So the design documents is an element of contributing guidelines. So we'll do, this will be before coding and then while coding. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 before coding. Okay, so that's what would go under before coding, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 while coding. This would be stuff like, please ensure, like, try to recycle existing methods and patterns. When this is like personal, these are like personal while coding. Here are some code style opinions used in this repo. When functional and OOP approaches both exist, functional approach, or like prefer, basically let's just do, we're going to use Django classes. Cool, that makes sense. Try to recycle, yeah. Ensure your code passes formatting and linting checks. That kind of makes sense, right? This is not really supposed to be in depth, more just kind of like, what is even the point of this section of the README? Let's open up a preview. I think this is looking so far so good. This before coding, it doesn't even look like a title, does it? So that's kind of janky. So let's switch our 3s into 2s. And then hopefully these 4s, we can avoid these 4s and they'll look like they're actually titles. And I'm doing all this stuff in lowercase and that's kind of like intended. Yeah, so those look bigger and yeah. Now you can kind of tell they're subtitles. Please submit a design doc. Okay, I'll say please contribute. Please contribute a design doc for major features. And then here, this will be to do, define a major feature, do, define safe harbor for small feature. A template can be found in docs/template.md. Existing designs are listed in docs index.md. Cool. So I think that kind of makes sense for the readings. We'll stage this. And then let me make a docs folder, new folder, and I'm going to include a mistake. So here's going to be a docs folder. We're going to include the index.md. We're also going to include a new file. What should I name this design document? I'm going to name it after the GitHub issue. So this will be to auth service design. Yep, it takes the same name as the branch. I'm okay with that. I don't see any real problem with that. Name the top 3 annoying questions you get on your live. The first most annoying question is, hey, can you do XYZ in crypto? Or can you do it in like some other programming language that I'm not dealing with now? Like someone asks me to like solve a C++ problem, and I'm like coding in Python or TypeScript or something. I usually have something that I'm doing, and I'm prepared to make like small kind of rabbit trails for education, but I'm not prepared to like spin up a whole new project in a different programming language and do something completely unrelated. So that's pretty annoying. I think those are the big 2. What are you building? This is an open source repository called Python Hello Web Monorepo. This is an educational tool. So you can see it right there. It's open source. Go star it. Go check it out. This is a monorepo that includes a Django app, a Flask API, and a Fast API. And the purpose is an educational purpose, so the student is able to compare and contrast these 3 web frameworks and build a an advanced architecture, specifically in the case of authentication and authorization. Okay. So yeah. So the mistake is that this will be index of designs, and then we will just have 1, which is to auth service design. I guess we can link it. I don't know exactly what the link will look like here. So we might need to do that subsequently. I'll just leave it unlinked for now. And then maybe a subsequent PR can link that, or a subsequent commit or something. So the mistake is we have the index, we have this design, and the mistake is that the template is going to be missing. Okay, so what are the main elements of a good design doc? I just put out a TikTok on this. So I said there are 5. You could potentially do more. You run out of time in a TikTok, right? But there's the summary. There are constraints. Constraints are going to lead to a risks section later on. After the constraints, you identify your preferred solution. This may include narrative, pseudocode, methods, pseudocode, like pseudocode methods, type definitions, JSON or like and payload samples. Okay. Then you have alternatives considered. 1, 2, 3. Alternatives considered. And that's basically it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I think I'm missing something. Summary, constraints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I don't know. I'm missing something. Hopefully it comes to me. So the summary is this. Oh yeah, and it's not just an auth service; it's an auth microservice. Auth microservice design. Django, like the blog, right? So this is all basically going to be a blog. Has Django authentication, but we would like to use third-party authorization. Yeah, so how can I phrase this as a user? So I've been thinking like a developer. So as a user, I would like third-party authorization of my Django session, so that I can access elevated privileges like appropriately when I should be able to. Constraints. This application, like authorization, because this is an educational app, the authorization microservice will simply provide admin authorization when the email address, when the username includes the substring admin. So this is something you would never do in like a real app, right? But because it's an educational app, it's okay. No, actually that's part of the solution. So the auth microservice should not use a DB. It should be stateless. So the constraint would be something like authorization role, third-party permissions should be provided as a map of should be provided as a function of username substring. 1, 2, 3, 4. This constraint is allowable because this is a toy application. Generally, this would not be a good commercial practice. This practice may be used in commercial staging environments. for test users, for test usage, or yeah, test. This approach simulates something like a real commercial LDAP or SSL. That's kind of what we're doing right here. Are you from the States? Yeah, I'm from the United States. Hey, what's up, Diamond Boy? How's it going? Cool, so I think those are a couple good constraints. It should be stateless. So given those constraints, then the preferred solution um, is to create a Flask microservice or a Flask endpoint that returns a role name, the preferred solution is to create a Flask endpoint that returns a role name property with a value of admin if the Django user name includes the substring admin. In all other cases, oh, I guess we should have a guest. The third party authorization tool should return a value of non-admin. Guest access is controlled on the Django side. The third party tool doesn't know about guest usage and shouldn't even be consulted about guest permissions. Alternatives considered. In addition to Flask, we also thought about using Fast API instead of Flask. And then risks. The main risk is one, if this solution is deployed in a commercial setting, it could allow users to obtain inappropriate authorization. Two, this is the main one. This solution forces a system deployment. This solution requires a redeployment of code in order to change user authorizations or user permissions. Unlike a solution that would use a DB. If we ever, like, here's another risk, like user permission is bound to username. So users, yeah, that's fine. So here we can change this one. It can allow users to obtain inappropriate authorization, even in a toy environment. users may obtain unintended authorization simply because of the coupling of permission. Basically, this is a terrible idea, is what these risks say. But the point is just to get something in there. Cool, so we'll stage this. So we'll do git commit m, this will be docs. This will be init auth ms design. Push. It says, hey, there's no upstream branch. Copy this, paste it. Bam. And now it says, okay, we pushed it, but there's not a pull request. So it provides this URL. We can click this. And I will create a draft pull request. And here I will say closes to. I can also provide a quick summary. Proposes a design of the auth microservice using Flask, and creates docs folder with an index, template, and updates to the README, and related updates to the README. And then also fixes some incorrect info in the README. Bam. And now I've got this draft pull request. Whenever, so this is a draft because it's a whip, because I still have to-dos in there. Whenever I'm ready for real review, I'll click ready for review. People can approve it. When it gets approved, this button would say merge pull request. It would become green and clickable. I would click it, and it would get merged into main. It would automatically close this pull request. It would automatically close the GitHub issue. And that completes the development cycle of a feature. So that's an example of a GitHub-oriented workflow. There's obviously other tools. You can use Bitbucket. Maybe I'm using Jira to track my issues, or Trello instead of GitHub. But this is one developer workflow, a GitHub-oriented workflow. Hope this was educational. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.